So, guys, this is my Rescue Ace Punk deck. So, I think this is a really, really good variant of Rescue Ace. It helps alleviate a lot of the problems I see with the deck. So, let's quickly go through the ratios and such, and then I'll show you some combos and explain my thought process behind it. So, to start off with hand traps, I've completely cut out hand traps, and I might actually show you the variant of Rescue Ace I was playing last weekend, which was like 12 hand traps. I don't think it's bad, I just don't think it's ideal in this format. But in this, I'm only playing Ash and then Ghost Ogre, which you do search as part of your combo. And then, in terms of going second cards, the only thing I'm playing is Dark Ruler. And I've just accepted that Rescue Ace is not good at breaking boards, and if you run loads of hand traps, I find that even with the fire attacker draw, it's just not enough a lot of the times. You hand trap your opponent 3 times, they still make an okay board, or they're playing like Kashtira or something, which is a very important deck. And against a deck like Kashtira or Manadium or Infernoble, if you hand trap them and then you don't immediately win, a lot of times their cards on the board or in the grave still do stuff, and so you just end up losing in the grind. And so you don't want to waste cards on hand trap. I don't think it's worth it. But Ash is just good because Branded is a hard matchup. Dark Ruler is good, especially when you're playing Fenrir and you've got E-Telly to like make some of these big synchro monsters. So we play those. But let's move on. So Rescue Ace monsters, we have cut the ratios down a bit. We only play 1 Turbulence. We don't play Fire Attacker anymore, and it's essentially because you have more bricks. You have Deer Note, you have Foxy Tune. It's not a complete brick, but it's still not amazing to draw. And so because of that, you do need to cut down a lot on those extra Rescue Ace cards. In addition, Impulse is down to 2 as well. It's not the best hand trap anymore. We're not looking to tutor a card out of the deck as often, so as we're only playing the fire attacker, it's like I'm not trying to resolve this fire attacker impulse combo. And there's a world, for example, where you literally play one. No, it's actually, I'd still say you play 2 impulse, but there's a world where you cut out fire attacker as well. Like, it's not mandatory in this build at all. Hydrant has also gone down to 2 because it's not an amazing normal summon, and also just because of space. I do like keeping the deck as close to 40 as possible. It's hard. I've gone up to 41, but yeah, I think in terms of normal summons, we've got 1, 2, 3 Airlifter and 2 Hydrant. That's 5 normal summons. It's more than enough. Now, moving on from that as well, we do play Fenrir, and I see Fenrir as completely free, essentially. When you have emergency telly or level 3 tuners, Fenrir becomes so much better because he essentially threatens Baron. Like, every time you summon a Fenrir, your opponent, especially in games 2 and 3, your opponent knows that it can threaten a Baron and also whatever Fenrir does by himself, which forces them to interact with it. So I really do like having that card here. I would play it free, but again, space. Then Punk Engine is very, very small, very, very streamlined. So you just got the Deer Note, the Foxy Tune, and the Z-Armin, and 3 E-Telly. E-Telly is the best card, the one you always want to open. Z-Armin's not terrible to open in some hands. Deer Note is bad to open, Foxy Tune is not ideal to open. The reason why I don't like opening Foxy Tune is because my main goal was to bait out an Ash, or bait out an Imperm, or bait out something with my Punk Engine. If I open Foxy Tune and they Ash that, I've discarded it. I've like sent a card to the grave and nothing's happened. I don't really like it. So yeah, I'm not a fan of opening the Foxy Tune. But yeah, these are the ratios we go over. And then in the extra deck, so these are the different cards that you can usually make. So Dawn Dragstar is what comes with Airlifter sometimes if you do get stunned. Herald is another card that comes open. So when you do open that Hydrant plus the emergency teleport and they hand trap you, sometimes you still can end on Herald plus maybe like a set 2 or whatever, and this is still quite good. Baron, obviously that comes from E-Telly and Kashtira Fenrir, and then End Punisher. Now I've never actually made this. It was Black Rose Dragon for a while because I saw some lines that could get to that, but it never came up. I put this in, this has also never come up. Then moving on, we've got Hope Harbinger. This is okay, it's pseudo protection. I'll be honest, this has never come up. I've never made it. I always go into Sargus, which is the real king of this deck because it allows you to make Regulus, and that's another strength of this engine. It does let you search out Regulus as part of your combo, and so it is a 2-card combo, but the ability to have Regulus sometimes in your combo really, really insulates you and really makes it a lot better, makes your deck a lot better at successfully resolving that Turbulence set 4. And then Zombie Vampire. Zombie Vampire is nice because this means the Punk Engine can pseudo start your Rescue Engine. So if you don't open Airlifter, or if you don't open a Hydra or whatever, a lot of the times Zombie Vampire you can go into that Zombie Vampire mill 4 special summon, and then now you're cooking as well. Another thing that I've done before is, for example, I've milled a Tuna on theirs when I've had a Fenrir or whatever, and then I've summoned it back to make a Barone. So things like that are really, really good. And then the links, you know, we play a bunch of links. Yeah, no real change. The side deck is pretty standard, I'd say, for this deck. The only difference is I'm not playing Shifter. I don't think this variant is as good with Shifter because you have more kind of non-engine stuff. So you have more like E-Tellies and Punk cards, and so because of that I've taken Shifter out of the side deck, but beyond that it's not too different. So let's look at some replays, guys. So to start off with, this was a game against Kashtira, and what I really like about this Rescue Ace deck you're going to see here is, like I said, it's this Fenrir thing. When you open Fenrir and E-Telly, it's just so unfair for your opponent. Now he has Imperm Ash, which is quite strong. So the first thing that I'm going to do is obviously get out that Fenrir. Now, look, you can't play around everything, and so in this situation, I'm not playing around Droll. If he has Droll, it's a little bit annoying, but the nice thing about this deck is that if you have Emergency and they have Droll, you're still getting your set 4. So I've just accepted, I don't really want to play around Droll. I can still get Barone set 4 if I really need to, so I'm just going to go straight into the Fenrir, try and bait something out, try and bait interruptions. He doesn't interrupt that. Then moving on from that, I'm going to try and E-Telly, he's going to Ash that. And this is really, really good for me. And you're going to see later because he's put an Ash in the grave, which means that later on I can take that Ash. So he Ashes that, great. I feel very unthreatened. And I've got Emergency in hand now because now I know he doesn't have Ash. Emergency is always going to be live. So if he does try and do anything kind of cheeky shenanigany, I can stop him. So then I'm going to go for the Emergency to bring out the Hydrant, and this is where I'm going to completely rattle my opponent because I'm going to use Rescue to take his Ash and make Barone, and then from here it's pretty much GG. Like, my opponent, if they had read my play, it would have maybe been smart for them to imperm the Hydrant, but even then that wouldn't make any difference because I've got Preventer in hand to follow up after that. So from there, it's a pretty simple story. Make Barone, Hydrant Search, Turbulence, and then we just, I don't know, we do a little bit more comboing here. Well, I say comboing, we do a little bit more turbulencing, set 4. And keep in mind as well, here I'm very greedy with my sets. I've set both Contain and Extinguish because I have Barone, it's game 1, and he's using Hand Trap. It's like, I don't know, if he has evenly at this stage and combo, I was just meant to lose that game. So yeah, I'm being very greedy. But then we move on from here. I make Sunlight Wolf, and one thing I really like about Sunlight Wolf obviously is the ability to add recursion, especially in game states like this. I think it's so useful to add all of that recursion back to your hand. So I'm going to be able to dump the Turbulence back in. Now I did slightly misplay here. I should have banished the Hydrant before and left the Airlifter so I could add the Airlift instead of the Turbulence, because the Airlifter is a better starter, but no matter, it happens. I add the Turbulence back to my hand and pass to my opponent. He unfortunately top decks another Ash. Now he has got combo. He goes for the Imperm Barone. Sure, I don't want to play into talents. I let that through. But as you can see, guys, look, my normally I would have lost really hard. Like if you're just playing Rescue Ace, you would lose quite hard to Imperm Ash. But here I've still managed to put out my Rescue Ace set 4, and he's had to commit another card to deal with this Barone. And it's like I've still got all my interruptions. So what do? I contain the first one. I don't give a crap. And then it's fine. He's gonna summon out his Kashtira Unicorn. I'm gonna let him summon out his Unicorn. I'm like, if he has Birth, it's a little bit annoying, but I'm pretty sure, like, it's like, again, I've looked at how much he's committed to the board. It's like he has to open the perfect time to play through this. So I'm just gonna straight up Extinguish. I could have played a little bit safer and, for example, added Impulse to myself first, let him do Fenrir effect, chain, and then chain that to summon out Hydrant, and then contain and all these things, but who cares? Yeah, at that stage I didn't care, and then he just scoops. And then we're going to look at this deck going second. So going second, it's even better because, like I said, you side out all of those Punk cards and then your deck is still super efficient. And look, you have to remember, like, your goal is to win against your opponent in a way that's just super unfair for them. So what do? I side in 3 Droll, I side in 3 Kurakara. I've also got my 3 Dark Rulers in the main. I'm of course going to drop one of them. So I'm just going to draw that. It doesn't end up mattering a huge amount because he does open every Kashtira card, whatever. But unfortunately, against Kashtira, if you have Kurakara, it's just a bit unfair. So here, I'm just trying to bait his Rice Heart. He doesn't want to. I'm like, sure, I'm going to force your Rice Heart. Then I'm going to Kurakara. And then again, this is where you see the huge value of that Rescue card. I think Rescue is such an unfair card because I'm going to go to battle phase, I'm going to attack him twice. And the thing here as well is that one of the reasons why I made sure to wait until the end is because if I had summoned it first, that might have encouraged him, for example, to like imperm the Kurakara and not let the attack through because he thinks, oh, I'm gonna die here, let me stop him. So I don't want to even give him that chance. I'm going to attack with these 2 first, and then at the last second I'm going to show him the Rescue, activate Rescue, bring back a Rice Heart, kill him with his own Rice Heart, and that's a GG. Let's go to the next game. So next up, we're going to be looking at a game versus Purrely. So Purrely, like I said, it can sometimes be a really, really easy matchup. It's just not too hard to handle if they don't get to Noir. But if they do get to Noir, and especially multiple Noirs, it can be a lot more challenging for you. Now, I open Foxy Tomb, which isn't ideal. But again, this is where I think the big strength of this deck comes in because I actually don't care about most of the cards in my hand. I have Airlifter, right? So I discard that, I go into that. Then I use my E-Telly as well to bring out the tuner so that I can go into Jam Dragon and then summon back and add my Ghost Ogre. So even though I've negged, I've still got 5 cards. It's not too bad. Then I'm going to go into the Sagas, obviously, to get the Regulus. Now, look, at this stage, if my opponent has a Throw in a Hand Trap, I usually assume they haven't got one or they've got Nib. If he's got Nib, you don't care, because Nib doesn't really stop you resolving Turbulence in this deck all the time. Sometimes it does, not all the time. And if he hasn't got Nib, then I'm fine, I'm chilling. So I'm going to go into my airlift to play. I'm very confident he doesn't have Ash, so that allows me to play very greedily, go into the Hydrant search Turbulence, and then look. Now, here I misplay a little bit. I go for the Sunlight Wolf, but I feel like if I have Prosperity in hand, I don't really need to. That's probably going to get me follow-up, but whatever. I go into Sunlight Wolf, I'm going to bring out the Regulus, and this is a really interesting interaction as well that, if you don't know, it's time for you to find out. Hydrant just needs to be on the field for your traps to get their bonus effects. It doesn't need to be a monster on the field. So when Regulus equips it to the spell and trap zone, and later on with Diablo Star, I don't know, whatever that Snake Eyes, Diablo, whatever deck is called, it can do the same thing and put Hydrant in like the spell and trap zones. This will give your traps the bonus effect, which is really, really big, and you'll see it makes this matchup even easier. So I'm going to add the Airlift of follow-up. Turbulence is going to set 4, and then it's pretty GG from there. Against Purrely, especially when you have Hydrant, if they don't have Field Spell and you have Hydrant up and you've resolved Turbulence, it's so hard for them to win, because what do? You extinguish on the light one, and then that means that he basically has... Now, by the way, this was a misplay by him. He should have chained Happiness there, which at the very least would have meant that, okay, he can protect, but I had Regulus, so that would have negated it anyway. But yeah, you extinguish that one so you can never use the light one again, and then as soon as he summons his first black one, you just contain it. You can be a bit like greedy and wait for him to potentially try and use the XYZ effect, but for me, I'm always afraid they're going to act the field spell, and if they add the field spell, you just hard lose. So he's going to bring out another one. So he's going to go into Sylvan Princess Sprite. Princess Sprite is doing nothing here, so I can tell already here his only play is Zeus, but I've got all the follow-up in my hand, so I'm just going to let him play. He's going to make a big ass Zeus, and then I'm just going to out it. So I searched a bit of follow-up for next turn. I let him make Zeus. Zeus is going to also add back my Turbulence. Then yeah, it's going to be as simple as use my... I don't know how Unicorn got on board there. A little bit confused. Oh, we're in my turn. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, we're back to my turn. So he keeps the Zeus from my turn. I don't really know why he kept the Zeus from my turn, but the Zeus just gets bounced back, and then from here, it's a wrap. I've got all the cards. I've got my field spell. It's pretty game from here. But as you can see, this deck really, really effectively dominates in this matchup. Another thing as well is there are consistent OTKs you can do with this deck in access code. So a lot of times that's what you're going to want to be going for. But even if you're not going for that, it's going to be putting a bunch of big monsters and killing them. So let's go into game 2. So look, we're going to go into game 2 now. In game 2, it just gets really easy, and like I said, it really comes down to those really busted siding patterns that you can afford in this deck. Again, unfortunately, I don't really know why he kept Lava Golem in his deck going first. I'm just noticing that now, but sure. But as you can see in my hand, I open Evenly, Fenrir, and Div Incarnate, so and Emergency. Like, so from my perspective, he's probably dying. Like, it'd be so hard for him to not die, but he's gonna make a board. I think he does end on Noir and some set traps, but my mentality here is just force him to activate Noir. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to do that by threatening with Fenrir, for example, threatening with Hydrant, and then from there it's just as simple as killing him. So yeah, he does his combo. He's discarded both of those Lava Golems. I really don't know why. I don't know. Maybe you guys in the comments can tell me why a Purrely player would keep 2 Lava Golems going in second. But yeah, sure. Yeah, so he managed to make the Plump, Princess Sprite. Yeah, Princess Sprite Plump. Yeah, not the best end board, to be honest. It's basically just a Noir. But I'm going to make Fenrir. I'm going to see what he does. He drew with it, so he gets tributed off. Now, one thing as well is that at this stage, so I know Prosperity is in his hand. Then on top of knowing Prosperity is in there, I know he's got 1 draw. So the only way I really lose at this game state is if he has Nib. Like, any other hand trap doesn't matter. And this is one thing I think that's really important about Purrely. Like, they get a lot of advantage from this card, but a lot of times, if you can just kill them, just press it. Don't worry that they have 5 cards in hand, because a lot of the times those 5 cards are three of them are quick plays that they just added, and 1 is another spell that they added during their turn. So here I'm just going to go straight for it. I'm like, no problem. Put the Fenrir on board, put the Kurikara on board, let's get Rotor out to get Airlifter, get Hydrant, blah blah blah, and it's just going to be a quick simple kill shot here, which he's not going to be able to do much about. So yeah, Hydrant's going to summon Turbulence. I think Turbulence I'm going to use I might use Rescue as well, I'm not sure. Oh, I did prevent it here. I don't even know what I'm doing. Oh no, prevent it with the alert, of course. Yeah, and then I get reinforce as well. Reinforce is also quite nice because if a lot of people will obviously let you play to the end of main phase instead of just hitting you when they actually should hit you, and so they'll let you play to the end of main phase. You set reinforce. If they chain nib, you chain reinforce, and at least you keep the turbulence. But as you can see, yeah, a really quick OTK into Purrely here. So let's go back to the deck one more time. So as you can see, guys, this is the deck. I definitely think it's really, really strong. A couple of changes, like I said, I would make. Fire Attacker potentially could go. So in fact, I'll quickly do it here so you guys can see. I think Fire Attacker could potentially go. It's not mandatory in the deck. Other than that, there's a world where we go down to one Hydrant even maybe in this deck. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that yet as well. And then I would say as well, if you really, really wanted to, you could play the third Fenrir, for example. So you could take off a reinforce and play the third Fenrir, but as you can see, I really like reinforce. I think it does facilitate OTKs and such. But thank you all for watching, guys. This is my Rescue Ace Punk guide. I'm going to have a Road to 1000 rating on DB series coming out soon, mainly playing this deck, though there is one other special deck that I might chuck in every now and again. So let me know what you think, guys, and more gameplay videos are coming out soon, so make sure you subscribe and like the video for more content. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.